So hi again, Ambre. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
All good. It's been a long time.
Indeed.
I just wanted to interview you today, and thanks for finding this time, this slot. Um, as you know, I'm running this YouTube channel where I try and help Indian and Asian students to get to Europe, France, Germany, Denmark, the larger countries, so that they can study there and make a life there. So I thought I'll get your insights, your perspective on uh, how are how is the French education system, in terms of credits, bachelor's degree, master's degree. How are the public universities? How are the private universities? How is the cost of living? So I have a lot of questions which a normal student would have, and maybe if you could share your perspective, that will be really helpful.
Okay, works for me.
Great, thank you. So let's just quickly start with the concept of public and private universities in France. If you could just say, like for example, in India, private universities are much better than public universities. How does it work in France, the French education system for higher studies?
Mm, I think it depends on the field you want to study in, um, because mainly there are public universities. It's like the main things where you can learn almost everything. But there are also like private school which are mainly like mm, marketing, communication, um, maybe engineering too, things like that, or art school too. Uh, so it depends what you want to do because if you want to study like literature, you would more go to public universities than private schools. So first, it depends what you want to do.
Yeah, and so the famous ones are like Ecole, and which ones usually the students go to when it comes to public universities?
um, I think it depends where you live. Usually, people in France will go to the closest university they they come from. Like, I mean, I'm from the
Okay.
southwest of France, so I moved to Bordeaux because it was the closest university from where I was. But I think Paris is also like a city where you think um, the universities are made. I don't know if they are better, but they are like kind of catchy, I guess.
Yeah. But Paris is more expensive, right? From a student perspective, how does it work
Yeah,
in
Paris
terms of?
is more expensive because life is in general more expensive. Like the rent for a flat or even like food and stuff are more expensive there. But
Yeah,
otherwise, I mean, the uh, price of the education is the same. I mean, public universities are all at the same price.
oh, okay. So the education is not, it's at the same price, but the living costs are higher in, let's say, Paris.
Yeah.
So how different would it be, let's say, if somebody has to take a room in Bordeaux versus in Paris? Like for a
Mm,
student, how much would typically be the cost?
I think in Bordeaux, when I was there, I guess a flat would cost like um, between 400 and 500. You can find something okay per month. But in Paris, if you want to have like your own flat, it would be more like 600 minimum. So
Okay.
yeah, the price of living is a bit higher.
Yeah. So 600 for shared accommodation or 600 for independent accommodation?
No, it's more for independent accommodation, but also I mean I'm actually looking for a flat, so I know a bit about this in Paris. So for like something your own flat, like you're alone, yeah, it would be minimum 600, and if I think it's a bit higher if you want to live in Paris, uh, like really in Paris, not in the cities around. um, but for shared
Hmm.
flats, you can find things that are cheaper. I mean, I found a shared flat, like a shared house actually, for 520. Uh, but it's not in
Okay.
Paris; it's in the south of Paris.
Okay, so
And
like half an hour by train or something.
no, no, it's only like from my work, it's like 30 minutes with the subway. So it's okay. It's not that
Okay.
far. I mean,
And you yourself, you studied in art and literature, right? Mostly around your subjects were around art.
yeah, it was history of art.
If you can share a little bit about your education and how did you make those choices and how should a student think about making those choices in your area of specialization.
So for history of art, I know that there are also private schools, but I chose to go to university because it was easier, and it's I mean it's um, you know more about it. So I moved to Bordeaux for that. I did my bachelor degree in 3 years. It was mainly like really having an overview of history of art from prehistorical times to today, and
Okay.
and I moved to Germany for a year, but then I had my master degree, which is specialized in like research. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like 2 years, uh, and uh, well, you have to write an MA dissertation, and well, I don't know what I should say.
Well,
uh,
I'm just wondering the credit system, how does it work? So you have
ah,
60 credits, or because in different countries, different credit system, right?
I have to admit, I have
So if
no
you have to
idea
become a
about
math
that.
in bachelor's,
I,
okay,
I don't know how
the
it
bachelor
works because
system. So
it's quite easy. Like you don't really notice it. I mean, you just have to like have
okay,
the good grades, and that works, I guess.
yeah, yeah. And how is the? I mean, if somebody has to make a choice between going to study in south of France versus some of the bigger cities, how should one make a choice? Is the quality of education one should look at, or one should look at, in Paris there are a lot more jobs. So how can one think? How do you think about it? Like when you make choices, is it more around where the employment is, or you think, okay, it's a very nice university, I'll go to that particular university?
Mm, I would say that if you have to make like the choice you want to make depends on uh, what you want to do. I mean, for university, maybe not for the bachelor, where you can go almost everywhere, and it's quite like the same level of education, at least in the biggest city. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
for a master degree, for example, you have to think about the specialization of the university you want to go to, because there are like laboratories uh, which are like specialized
Mm-hmm.
in subjects. So you should maybe think more about that than than something else actually. And I guess
Okay.
that in
So for
France you
bachelor's,
can move quite. Yeah, you can move quite
Sorry,
easily in
sorry,
France. So
please.
if you want to start your master degree somewhere and like find a job elsewhere, I mean, it's not that complicated.
Yeah. And can you also move between different universities? So let's say if I go to university in Lyon and then I don't like it after 6 months, can I make the transfer? Or do you know
Mm,
students who would
I,
say,
I don't know for 6 months, but you can do that like you validate 1 year,
what is it
and
called?
then you
Sorry?
can go to your. I didn't
What is
understand.
what is it called? So can the students change university after some time?
I think so. In France, it's called passerelle, and
Okay.
yeah, it's totally possible. Like you do 1 year in Bordeaux, and you have if your your year is validated. You can go elsewhere with the same. I mean, like if you do as I did history of art in Bordeaux, you can go study history of art in Lyon in the next year. It's not a problem.
Okay. So one should not get disappointed if they don't, if let's say student wants to go to a particular university, he or she can still go to that university after 1 or 2 years studying somewhere else. So
Yes, I
shifting of
think so.
universities
Mm, but
is possible.
the only
How do you
thing
see
it's
the?
like maybe some
Yeah,
universities
please.
are more how do you say that they're more popular, so you like I mean if you want to go to La Sorbonne, which is like the main university in Paris, it can be more difficult because a lot of people want to go there, so you have to think about that too,
Yeah.
but
Which
I don't know
university
how
did you
it works
mention?
exactly. La
Sorry.
Sorbonne. La Sorbonne. It's
Okay, maybe I'll write it out afterwards. Yeah.
I don't know if I can
Um,
type it in the chat and if you can
yeah,
see
that'll
it.
be really nice. If you could type it in the chat. Oh, yeah, okay. And what was the word you mentioned about shifting of the universities? What was the technical term in French?
I think it's called une passerelle, but it can also be used if you want to change your field of study. Like if you want to start in history of art and you change your mind and you want to do history, you have this kind
Hmm.
of system where you can have a passerelle because you have like some subjects that are in both fields, so you can mix it
Shift
and
around.
find a way. Yeah.
Okay. And what is it called in French? You used a French word, right?
Passerelle. I wrote it in the chat if you
Oh,
want
yeah,
to see.
now I can see it. It's an important one. A lot of students are curious about employment, and the general perception is, a student coming from India usually will be only able to speak English or obviously
Mhm.
Indian languages, but not very good in French. And a lot of students think that they can do some part-time jobs, they can pay off their living expenses and so on. So how do you see the requirement importance of learning French for making a good life in France for any student from a job
Mm,
perspective?
I think it's easier indeed because I worked in like a fast food restaurant, and even there, main people were speaking French. It was really rare that people would speak only English. But I think I worked with someone who was only speaking English, but like one time, which is not that
Okay.
much. But
Yeah.
it was in Bordeaux, so I don't know if like in Paris it would be easier or not. Probably, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's super important to learn French if somebody has to think about
Yeah,
jobs, right?
I
Obviously.
think so, but maybe in like uh, groups of foreigners, you can find like I mean like everywhere, like a sort of solidarity, which allows you to find work or friends even you don't speak French. But I don't really know that much.
Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? About solidarity and what you just mentioned?
I know my previous flatmate was Chinese.
Okay.
He arrived in France like a long time ago, so he speaks French really well. But I know that there are for Chinese people there are some kind of groups that helps you live in general, like find flat or find jobs or stuff. But I don't have more precisions because I didn't like
Yeah.
dig into these
Obviously.
questions.
Yeah. 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 So what I understood from you, like Chinese people would have their own communities where it's
Mm,
easier to find some work in their community, is what you
mm,
just said. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Um, have you seen also a lot of interest from other European countries like Germany or Italy? Students coming to France to study their master's, higher education, and what could possibly their motivation be?
I didn't
Is
really
it
understand. You mean like other Europeans going to France?
so? The question is that there are a lot of these international students in the universities. So what is
Mm,
kind of the mix what kind of international students do you typically see in your university or
mm.
around? Is it more people from China who are coming or people from Germany who want to come to France to study? So what is the kind of international mixture of different cultures you would see in a university?
I think it depends also of the city where you're studying, because in Bordeaux, I think there were not so much like foreigners. So I'm trying to I think there were some Erasmus students. So it was more like European students. In
Hmm.
Lyon, I know that there are a lot more of Chinese students because they have a different history, like a big link between Lyon and China, and they have like associations and stuff. And I think in Paris it's quite like mixed. I have no
Hmm.
idea because I didn't study here.
Yeah, no, definitely. You mentioned Erasmus. Could you say a few words on Erasmus, the system, how it works in France?
So the program allows you to go in another university in Europe. It's really specialized in
Hmm.
the Europe relations. I know that how can I explain that? Your university have like link with other university, and they like your university sends students, and this university would send other students. So there is kind of
Ex-
contract. Uh,
okay.
I mean, like if they choose to have like two students who go to the university and two students. It's always the same number.
Yeah.
Um, and after that, like I know I tried to go to Brighton at some point, so you have like to make a file and like motivation letter and stuff. Um, so and yeah, I don't know what I should say more.
Yeah. So is the university paying the students? So how
Mm.
is the university supporting with some money?
Yeah, so when you do an Erasmus, you pay your inscription for your own university and you can go elsewhere. So, for example, for Brighton, it was really good because in UK it's really expensive and in France it's really cheap. So it's quite good to have this opportunity. And then you have, yeah, a kind of, I think the word is fees. Uh,
What is
but
it called?
I don't know how it's. I opened word reference for
Yeah.
word I can find.
You can maybe you can type it in French in the chat.
Yeah, scholarships. Like, it's called bourse in France. So there's, you can find scholarships from the CRUS, which is the help for students in France,
Hmm.
and you can have also help from the region you live in,
Yeah.
and I think like you can find a lot of scholarships. You have to dig
Yeah.
a bit, but there are some which helps you to go somewhere else.
Yeah. So just moving on, I think it was very useful, especially with the three French words you just wrote here. Um, I'm just wondering, with all the pandemic going on, how is the situation now with part-time jobs, jobs overall? Students should be concerned because it's a um, lot of money they spend to go to a foreign country to study, or should they delay it? What would be your perspective? Is it very difficult time now in the French economy, or you would say it's just for 6 months and it'll get over? How do you see the situation?
In my opinion, it's not really a good time to move to France because yeah, when you're if you need to have a part-time job, it's quite complicated because I know that the easier way to find part-time job is usually like restaurant, but they are closed, so it's quite complicated. I know some people who lost their jobs and didn't have money to live. It's really complicated.
So I think we lost our connection, but now we are back, so that's good. Just final question, right? A lot of these students who come from Asia, India to France or to Germany, they have this hope that they can pay for their education partly using part-time jobs. But with the pandemic going on, what is your perspective on what should they think about? What's your perspective on part-time job situation right now with the restaurants and all that?
So in my opinion, I think it's a bit a bad time for part-time jobs because I know that a main field where you can find a part-time job is restaurants, but they are all closed, so it makes the situation complicated. Uh, so yeah, I think it's not really a good time to move to France if you want if you need to a job next to your studies.
Yeah. And how is all these food delivery apps? Because a lot of students
Mm.
I know in Germany, they make like 10 to 15 euros an hour just by delivering food. Is that something which students do in France?
I don't really know, but I think it's not so much of a student job. It's a lot of immigrants who
Hmm.
works in that field because they can't do anything else, which is another subject.
Yeah,
uh, but I don't know how easy it is if there's still enough job for that or not. I don't really know.
yeah. So it's very competitive because of immigrants.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of job are already taken in that field. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Now, really, I think it's a very good perspective to share that part-time jobs are not very easy, especially during pandemic. So if somebody is coming for studies, as you said, he should not or she should not rely on part-time income. It will be difficult.
Yeah, right now it would be difficult.
Yeah, perfect. But then I really appreciate your time and thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All the best
Thank
with
you.
your internship and your stay in Paris now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And good luck for your YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.